The Seattle SuperSonics, a team that gave us legends, won an NBA championship, drafted some of the greatest players ever, and then somehow got beaten by a group of businessmen armed with PowerPoint presentations. Because apparently that's tougher than guarding Michael Jordan. This is the rise and fall of the Seattle SuperSonics. The SuperSonics entered the NBA in 1967, and unlike most expansion teams whose strategy was lose basketball games until someone accidentally becomes good, Seattle actually became competitive pretty quickly. By 1978, they reached the NBA Finals. 1 year later, they beat the Washington Bullets to win the 1979 NBA championship. Not bad for a franchise that had only existed for 12 years. Over the next decade, Seattle remained competitive, but the real golden era arrived in the 1990s. With stars like Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp, the Sonics became one of the NBA's most entertaining teams. Payton talked trash, Kemp dunked on everyone, and opposing teams usually left wondering what truck had just hit them. In 1996, Seattle reached the NBA Finals against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Unfortunately, running into Michael Jordan in the 90s was basically basketball's version of stepping on a Lego. Pain was guaranteed. Seattle lost the series 4-2. Still, the future looked bright, which naturally meant everything was about to go horribly wrong. In 2001, Howard Schultz bought the franchise. Yes, the Starbucks guy. Apparently selling coffee wasn't stressful enough. Now, Schultz wasn't walking into the perfect situation. Key Arena was one of the NBA's smallest arenas. Luxury suites were limited, revenue was falling behind other teams, and while other franchises were printing money, Seattle was counting pennies. Over the next several years, the team reportedly lost tens of millions of dollars. Schultz wanted the city to help fund a renovated arena. The city looked at the proposal, looked at the price tag, and basically replied, "How about no?" Without public funding, nothing happened. So Schultz decided he'd sell the team. Now here's where things get interesting, because when he sold the franchise in 2006 to Clay Bennett and the Professional Basketball Club, the understanding was simple. Keep the team in Seattle. Simple enough, right? Right? Clay Bennett's ownership group was based in Oklahoma City, which immediately had Sonics fans asking, so, hypothetically, why is an Oklahoma group buying our basketball team? Bennett insisted they wanted to keep the team in Seattle. They even explored building a new arena in Renton. Everything sounded wonderful. Just ignore the giant elephant wearing an Oklahoma City jersey standing in the corner. The arena proposal eventually failed. No funding, no agreement, no progress. Then in August 2007, the masks came off. Emails released during legal proceedings suggested Bennett's group had been preparing for relocation much earlier than fans had been led to believe. Seattle fans realized they'd been watching the basketball version of a magician saying, "Pick a card," while the arena was disappearing behind them. With no new arena deal, Bennett wanted out of Key Arena early. There was just one problem: the lease. Tiny detail: Seattle wasn't interested in letting the team leave before it expired, so the city sued. Bennett pushed for arbitration. Lawyers started billing by the minute. Everyone lost sleep, probably except the accountants. Eventually, both sides reached a settlement. Bennett agreed to pay $45 million plus additional payments under certain conditions in exchange for ending the lease. Translation: the moving truck had officially been booked. In 2008, the Seattle SuperSonics became the Oklahoma City Thunder. Seattle kept the Sonics' name, colors, and history in case the NBA ever returned. Which is kind of like your friend saying, "You can keep the photo album," after stealing your house. There was still one last obstacle. Howard Schultz sued Bennett. He claimed the buyers had breached their promise to make a good faith effort to keep the team in Seattle. The lawsuit didn't stop the relocation. Then came the NBA owners' vote. The result? 28 votes in favor. Only 2 owners voted against the move: Mark Cuban and Paul Allen. Everyone else basically looked around the room and said, "Well, guess Seattle doesn't need basketball." The relocation was approved. Just like that, the SuperSonics were gone. Today, the Oklahoma City Thunder are one of the NBA's model franchises. Meanwhile, Seattle is still waiting for another NBA team. Every few years, someone says, "Expansion is coming." Then another meeting happens, another presentation gets made, another rumor starts, and everyone goes back to waiting. So the biggest opponent the Seattle SuperSonics ever faced wasn't Michael Jordan. It wasn't the Lakers. It wasn't the Spurs. It was arena politics. Turns out, you can't box out a boardroom.